So with us is the none other than Jonty Rhodes, who remains deeply connected to India, but now he is venturing his wings to the European cricket with the emergence of the European T20 Premier League. Firstly, welcome to Revsportz, Jonty. And what's happening with the ETPL? How did you go into it? What's the vision behind you and the Rotterdam team that you, Heinrich, Klaasen, and Fab du Plessis have got it?
Well, the interesting thing is that, and thanks for having me on the program. I've retired from coaching twice. I've retired from playing twice, but this is the first time I've come in as a co-owner in cricket. I think as cricket players, whether you've retired 20 years ago, there's real passion for the game in India, but myself as a former player, I am still deeply connected and deeply rooted to the game. I mean, I live in India for 6 months of the year, and there's real passion for cricket. I also I moved to Sweden during the pandemic because they didn't have a lockdown. I coached the national team there for a year and a half. And I had a real focus on, because at that stage it was just in the Nordics. So Sweden were playing Denmark, Finland, Norway, but Germany, France, Italy were teams that were in the tier above us. And then the Netherlands themselves, the Dutch cricket board, were very supportive, almost as a bigger brother of European cricket. And I saw the impact that someone like myself had on a team like Sweden, which only had one Swede and the rest was sort of South Asian diaspora. And the reason that I'm excited about the ETPL is that, I know I've played cricket in the Netherlands before. I've played cricket in Ireland. I've played cricket in Scotland. And, there's a small local pool of players, but through the ETPL, we can grow that pool, and we can also ensure that there's great players and great coaches to work with the local players. Because otherwise, it's every 2 years you see them at an ICC event and then you don't see them again. There was a real following. The Italian team made such an impact here in India during the T20 World Cup. But where do the players go after that? So we'll have them in all the franchises will have these Italian players, obviously the Dutch, the Scottish, and the Irish players too. So I think it's a key part of me getting involved, because as a former cricket player, you still want to give back to the game, but it's very limited in where you can spend your time. And I think as a co-owner, I need to remember, stay in your lane, Jonty. So I'm not going there as a coach. I'm just ensuring that players like Faf and Heinrich, Klaasen, they can, even though they are co-owners too, they can focus on what they have to do on the field, and I'll be trying to ensure that all the off the field scenarios are taken care of for them.
Jonty, Rotterdam is known for its global vision, its ambition. So, as a franchisee owner, how do you want to, connect the vision of the city and the vision of the franchisee?
Well, Rotterdam is a gateway to Europe, and people come in and out, and it's a big thing for us. When we thought about how we're going to operate the franchises, that obviously in Europe, in India, through our connections, Faf and Heinrich obviously are very popular, got big fan base in India, and then also into South Africa or Southern Africa. So we have a Namibian player as well, not just South African players. And we're looking to almost connect the three, because Rotterdam is that. I mean, it is the gateway to Europe. So we want to ensure that it's not just about, sure, the Rotterdam as a franchisee, that is our focus. But it's, again, through India into Southern Africa that we have an impact, and also a year-long association, not just the 4 weeks of the tournament, because the players are not going to grow in 4 weeks. It's the time they get to spend outside the tournament, whether it's playing club cricket in South Africa, getting exposed to camps in India, putting them under pressure, because that's what Rotterdam's about. It's also, because it's a port city, it's got people from all over the world that live there and operate there. And I think, again, that's a key message for us, is that it's a franchise where we're going to have this interesting culture and inputs from players from all around the globe.
Jonty, you did mention about European players, especially the Dutch players. Now we saw that Italy also played a great mark in the recently concluded T20 World Cup. Now with the European T20 Premier League, how do you see this league, this particular league, as a serious player in the European cricketing sector?
Well, the ETPL is going to be massive. I mean, I've obviously seen what, and we're not benchmarking the IPL. We're not comparing ourselves to the IPL, but I have seen the difference. I mean, I was here year two of IPL, so that was 2009, and seeing the difference. But just seeing the impact that a platform like the IPL has done for youngsters. Without the IPL, you would have your players from Delhi, from Mumbai, from Bangalore, Chennai, and that was the usual sort of makeup of the national team. Now, every IPL season, you see these young players getting exposure. Every state has its own Premier League. And I think that is what's important in Europe. With the ETPL, we want to give players a platform to show, and then also inspire other franchises or other leagues to start up. Obviously our focus is ETPL and what we can do, but we know that if you provide a platform and give people an opportunity to showcase their skills and improve their skills, they do, because cricket players are hungry, and this is a great opportunity. The Netherlands, Irish players, Scottish players, they don't get many opportunities that come around. And when they do come, they grab them with both hands, which is obviously a good fielding analogy, because that's what you want. You want to have players who take that opportunity and turn their game around. And I think that's a key for us at the ETPL, is that how are we going to grow? And it's not just about growing the players, it's about growing the infrastructure, which is there already. We have local coaches, we have local management. How do we grow? Because cricket's a team game. And the team is not just the 11 players on the field. It's everything. And it's the media, it's sponsors, it's owners, it's that whole, we're all shareholders, and we all have contributions to make to the game. So it's ensuring that through the ETPL that we're growing the entire cricketing community, not just benefiting the players.
That's a great vision. But Jonty, you did joke about retiring twice from playing, from coaching. But with your vast experience, what are the key areas that you are prioritizing to make Rotterdam as a franchisee a very competitive franchisee, but a sustainable franchisee as well?
I think a massive focus for us will be getting people down to the game, because I've seen what T20 cricket did. It brought a whole new spectator base, and obviously in India there was already a love for the game, so it wasn't that difficult if you provided something that was as exciting as T20 cricket to bring people to it. But seeing the makeup of the crowd, seeing young kids coming down to the game, and I was involved as a bank with the sponsor of T20 in South Africa. We called it the Pro 20, and that was a very strong structure. And what was so impressive for us was that it wasn't just your cricket fans; it was now cricket fans plus their family. And I think that is a huge focus for us in Rotterdam. Is that we know we're going to have, sure, the low hanging fruit will be the diaspora, because there is a real mix of cultures and people living in Rotterdam because of it being the port city and the gateway to Europe. But we also want the local kids who come down to watch to get an opportunity to try the game out. Because cricket, we sometimes get too technical. But if you're a hockey player, I played hockey. I mean, it made me a great fielder. I played tennis. It made me an awesome fielder. Maybe my cricket shots weren't as technically correct as they should have been. But the fact that I played tennis, hockey, and football, which is a big focus in Europe, it's a big focus in the Netherlands, it made me a better cricket player. So here we have an opportunity to educate the local population that, hey, sure, it's a game that you might not have tried before or even seen before. But if you come down, we would love to assist you in getting in. The fact that it's a part of the Olympics, going forward, it's an opportunity for youngsters to represent their country. And having been involved with Sweden, having been involved in Europe, there is real national pride when it comes to representing their country. So here's a new sport that, if they're not the best on the football field or the hockey field, here's an opportunity that they could play for the Netherlands one day and represent their country at an Olympics, which is a huge goal for a lot of the kids in Europe.
That's a great vision. But how tricky is it to when you are a franchisee owner, you are thinking about business part as well. You are thinking about the profits and losses, the checkbooks and all. But how tricky is it to to manage the international star power who brings you the eyeballs, who brings you the headlines, and also side by side developing talents like we saw in the IPL. We are seeing in the IPL that you can balance it, but is IPL also an example where you can have that star power, plus you can, guide the youngsters to become the next stars, the future stars?
Sure. It's a really good question. And I think from the outset, we really have, and we've had, I mean, the fascinating thing is that the most of the owners of this ETPL, they all past players. So not necessarily guys who've all played in the IPL. So we're not saying, okay, so the IPL is not a yardstick for us to aim at. I think what is that from a salary cap point of view, we know that we're working with way lesser budget, but having the sort of pulling power of former players as co-owners, we now, through our network, Faf du Plessis, Heinrich, Klaasen. I mean, Heinrich is the highest retained international player so he is like world class. And the fact that he's playing for us at Rotterdam is because of we've got him and Faf as co-owners, my connection with these guys as South Africans. So yes, and the same with Steve Waugh, with the team that he rolled out, his international stars that he announced from the outset. I mean, there's some great names that are wanting to play, and it's not because of the salary. We know that we're not comparing it to an IPL, but there's Major League Cricket, there's the CPL, there's many leagues. The 100 is just after the 100. So there's many leagues where there's not a big window of opportunity for players to play. So they have to choose between, say, the CPL and ETPL. And the reason why we've got guys like Heinrich Klaasen and Faf du Plessis coming to play for us is because of the connection that we as former players have with them. So it's an important part. It's a big differentiator because we know you can't necessarily compete dollar for dollar or whatever currency you're working in, euro for euro, with the other leagues. But there is a strong connection that we as co-owners have. And I think that is quite unique compared to any other league around the world.
Last couple of questions from my side, Jonty. Number one, if you have to define success for Rotterdam franchisee in the first season of ETPL, then what would it be? Now, sitting, if you're thinking at the end of the first season, what would be success for you for Rotterdam?
Well, there's quite a decent prize money, so we obviously need as much as much money coming in as possible to give Faf a bonus and Classy a bonus. That would be really useful. So winning. I mean, we all want to win the trophy, but there's 6 teams. There are going to be 6 teams wanting to win the trophy. I think a big thing for us is that at the end of season 1 is that how many how many new spectators have we brought to the game? How many people have we introduced to cricket? That's going to be a massive part. And then what sort of pipeline do we have to ensure that the players that we identify, the local talent, that we can get them to play cricket for 8 to 10 months, 6 to 8 months of the year even, that for us is going to be successful. Because we've seen, the key, even with a big budget like an IPL, you want to identify the raw talent because you get them at base price. Sure, 2-3 years later in a mega auction, maybe you can't retain them. But when you start identifying your local players, and that scouting system, it's become a big part of IPL. So can we ensure that there's a pipeline of local talent that we have access to? And I think that in year 1 we can set up, because it's not in 4 weeks. It's going to be so difficult to change all of that in those 4 weeks. But over a 6-month period where we impact these players, then we start to see the results. And that, for me, I think as a co-owner, will be as important as winning the trophy.
Again, a top-notch answer. Jonty, my final question, and I'll put you on a spot here. Any 3 current or former players, international players from any part of the world, who you would like to see play for Rotterdam in the future, or even in your dreams? 3 players, any country.
Well, I mean, only former players.
I'll give you that, former or current players. Anything works.
Well, I mean, we do have Heinrich Klaasen. So if you look at him play now, the current form that he's in, I think all South African fans will be very upset that he's not playing for South Africa. But maybe he's playing so well because he doesn't have that stress 10 months of the year of international cricket, no downtime. Because in my conversation with Faf, when we were talking about building the team, he just spoke about the importance of recovery, and there was more the mental recovery than the physical recovery. So Klaasen is without a doubt my number one pick. I think from a former player point of view, we might have, someone like Chris Gale who's involved. I'm grateful he's involved as a co-owner, and it's not 10 years ago where he
Yeah.
was just incredible. He just dominated. Such an interesting guy because he didn't really dominate the power play because he gave himself a few balls, but man, once he got going, he was incredible. So I think someone like a Chris Gale would be an awesome start for a Heinrich Klaasen to walk into. And then somebody like I know he's going through a tough time now, but Bumrah, if
Oh,
when Bumrah's on form, he is such a fantastic. When he's knocking over the stumps at the death, he would be awesome. So I'll give him a few years. Let him spend a bit more time playing for India, doing what he does. But those three guys, if you had them in your team, you really could, because it's not just about the batting. We know it's been tough on the bowlers recently, but you need a captain of your bowling, and someone like a Bumrah has got great experience, and you could see from the first day, and I was there when Mumbai selected him for the first IPL, how quickly he started learning. Every practice session, every game, he was a better player. So that kind of bowling mindset, learning mindset, coachability is something that we always want as coaches, and he can then pass that on to any team that he's involved in. So those three guys I'd love to have in my setup, and I've got one, Heinrich Klaasen.
Heinrich Klaasen, but of course, Chris Gale and Jasprit Bumrah must be licking their lips at the thoughts of working with you all guys. Maybe in the future, one day in the ETPL. But wish you all the best with the Rotterdam
Thank you.
franchise, Jonty, and to Classy and Faf as well. And hopefully, a great season and a decent bonus payout at the end of the season when you achieve the trophy there. Thank you so much, sir.